Today is mowing grass day. You can see I've already started. I'm just wondering, does anybody else's dog do this? He literally just follows me all the way up and down the garden until I'm finished, eating clumps of grass. Look at the state of him. June, what have you got around your face? What's that all around your face? He's just in his element. Just absolutely in his element. Strange dog. Anyway, so you can see today's job is to mow this grass. It was raining on the days that I was supposed to do it last week. So it's very, very overgrown. But that's today's job. Right, so next project for today, I have been growing these cosmos seeds inside, but they've gotten far too big for the pots, and apparently when they start getting long stems like this, it means that they're reaching for sunlight, they're not getting enough sun. So I'm going to plant them outside. I've got this little bed over here I'm not doing much with at the moment, and I also read that it doesn't matter, so if you plant your cosmos in a raised bed, you can still plant your veg in there with it. It's actually fine. So I'm going to plant them and then see how much space it takes up. If there's enough space, then I can still plant some veg in the same planter. So that's my next job for today. Right, there they are. The one at the back looks really unhappy. I know that one definitely, I didn't plant it far enough down. So if you know what you're doing and you're watching this, then it probably would have seemed obvious. But if you're moving something that's gotten too leggy, as they say, then just dig quite far down. That's what I've had to do with these ones, and they look a bit better. They don't look incredibly happy, but they look better than that sad one in the corner. So let's see what happens. They've got a lot more space to do their thing now, and this area gets much more light, so let's see how they do. So with this shed, you can see it's starting to come down. I've had a bit of a nightmare with this shed actually. Had one person that was going to come and pick it up. They rescheduled quite a few times. Then I've just had somebody else, and basically they only want a few parts of it, but it had already been started to be dismantled. So as I say, these bits over here are going to be reused by someone, and these bits what I'm going to do is I'm going to carry on taking it down, just because that's not pretty at all, leaving it like that, and see out of what I take down what someone else can use. So that's the next job. I'm not saying that I'm going to get this all down today, but I've been working on it a little bit. I'm getting somewhere, so I'm going to carry on with that. So today is a new day. I stopped off doing the shed yesterday. It doesn't look like I've got very far with that, but I'll show you anyway. I'll show you updates. I'm going to carry on with that in a bit, but for now I've managed to get some more compost for this bed. I've decided that this bed is going to be peas and runner beans, sort of towards the back, and then the other half is going to be more radishes and beetroot. So I'm going to start by putting this compost in here and giving it a great big drink of water, and then I'm going to start on DIYing some pea support, some plant support for the peas. I'll show you how I'm planning to do that if it works out, but for now let's put the compost in the bed. Right, so on to the next project, which is creating some pea supports. So I've saved these 2 sticks, which have come from the shed as it's coming down. So what I thought I would do is reuse these as posts, and then what I'm going to do is use some biodegradable string and tie it from one end to the other, and then from the bottom string to the top string, to create sort of like a lattice effect for the beans to climb onto for support. So I'm going to try that with these 2, see how I get on, and then if it's fine, I might create one more row, and then, as I said before, I'm going to leave the front available for the beetroots and the radishes. Right, and now here we have my makeshift bean support. You can kind of see what I've done. I just tied string from one end to the other, do it relatively tightly. I've done 5 of those up, and then all I've done is just tied string from the bottom to the top, and then I've just given it some extra support on the strings as it goes up. So I'm hoping, I've seen pictures of this kind of thing online, so I'm hoping that'll be enough. I've got one little pea inside, and I do have enough space, so I am going to make another one. And so here we have the finished product. What you can see here is that this one is equal height to that one, but this one is much smaller. I actually couldn't find another stick that big. So what I've done instead is I've just created the same kind of pattern, but to give this a bit of extra height, I have instead attached the last 2 ropes onto here, so that hopefully they'll still get height to climb up. And then you can see I've got my first little pea out here. It was getting far too big inside, and it's going to be pretty warm for the next week or so. I don't think it will get too much shock from the cold really, because it's pretty warm, like I said. So we'll see how this does. I say my first little one, but actually this had 3 in the pot, so hopefully at least one of them will do well. Right, update number 1. Shed is down and pending collection of all of this. It will look 10 times better when that's gone. The second thing, we're going to come down to the veg patch. So for the veg patch, some of you might have realised this quicker than me, but it has become quickly quite apparent that these are not courgettes. I noticed when these little purple flower buddy type things started to come through, that's not courgette. So at the moment I literally have my one courgette in the corner over there that I grew from seed. And these are all apparently something called barrage. I actually don't know where this came from. The reason I thought it was courgette was because when it starts to grow, it looks very similar at the early stages to the courgette. And apparently this tastes a lot like cucumber. Apparently the leaves taste like cucumber, so don't know, maybe that's the reason why. And apparently the stalks, the flower, the leaves is all edible, so that's fine. I'll find a way to use it, but really that much I have to find a use for. I don't remember this being in the bed last year. The other reason I thought it was courgette was because they were in this space, which is where the courgette was last year. I didn't dig the courgette up, and I knew there was some, small courgettes that weren't really good, so I kind of let them die back into the compost. So I thought, okay, maybe that's why that's happened. But no, apparently not. So I'm going to have to find a use for all of these when they're sort of a bit bigger. Never mind. Apparently though, from what I was reading up, when these start to flower, they're really good for the bees, so the bees will be happy at least. And like I said, I'll find some use for it. Apparently it's good for teas and soups and that kind of thing, so we'll do something with it. But just not as exciting as I thought it was going to be. Hopefully my little courgette does well and saves the day. So after all that, you've just seen me planting something which this time I actually do know what it is. I grew these from seed. These are just little tomato plants. And I don't know if you could really get an idea there how big they had gotten for their pots that I was using indoors. And apparently they should be fine outside at the moment with this temperature. So I've popped them in. I've given them a reasonable amount of space in between. The only ones that I didn't is for these two here. That's why it looks a bit cluttered, but I couldn't really get the roots apart without really damaging it, so I've just left them just to see what they do. The other ones are a bit more spaced out, and I've got some more peas and runner beans inside on the windowsill starting to grow, so hopefully they'll be able to come out soon as well. So this bed has ended up being peas, and it will be peas and beans and then some tomatoes. That's if Junior doesn't eat them all. June. The tomato leaves are really fragrant actually, so even if they don't do much, at least it's an experience. And I'm obviously not the most experienced gardener in the world, but we've all got to start somewhere. And now I can take these pots, which are ideal, and plant something else in it. I think radishes this time.